Just because he could feel the atmic commonality with other life forms did not mean that others could. It took him years to bring us to speed and manipulate our minds to think in that manner. He was truly a master at work. Oneness. In my opinion, the aura of a person influences others. The radiation of Gurudev's aura enveloped and balanced the aura of others around him. His presence, to some extent, heightened other people's consciousness. This could be interpreted as love, provided the word love is looked at through an unemotional lens. His translation of love was twofold: feel for the other and serve. Krishan Mohanji was a colorful man who was interested in learning spiritual practices for the use in business. Can you believe that? Seva was not even at the back of his mind. Yet he went on to become a great guru who served countless people in hinterland Bengal with a focus on Durgapur.
शिवरात्रि आने वाली थी और गुरुजी शिवपुरी में ही थे। तो गुरुजी ने कहा कि बेटा ऐसा है, तुम ये बताओ कि तुम्हारा पर्सनल खर्चा क्या है। हमने गुरुजी हमारा उस समय 2-2,500 रुपये होगा। 78 लास्ट की बात हो रही। कहने किसमें खर्च करते हो? हमने कहा शराब, मीट, पिक्चर, यही मेरा शौक। 15 दिन में एक दिन हम सैटरडे को कोई जॉब नहीं करते, सिर्फ मस्ती मारते। कहने बेटा ये पैसा हमको दे दो। हम जेब से निकालने लगे कि गुरुजी पैसा मांग रहे, कौन बड़ी बात। कहने नहीं ऐसा नहीं बेटे, किसी को सेवा करो तुम, ऐसा करना, मैं तुमको आशीर्वाद देता हूँ। किसी के सर पे हाथ रख दोगे कि ठीक हो गया तो क्या बुरा है बेटा। किसी को छू लोगे, अगर वो ठीक हो जाए तो तुम्हारा कुछ जाता है। जब अपना काम करके आना और जब कोई तुमसे कहे तो तुम इतना कर देना। बहुत हो गए तो अपने जो पैसे हम तुमसे मांग रहे उसकी चाय पिला देना, और कभी हो तो कुछ खाना भी खिला देना।
His philosophy was simple, his methods direct, his teachings jargon-free. A school pass-out and a PhD could understand his teachings. I never heard him recite shlokas or refer to the scriptures. He disallowed spiritual theoretics. He wanted knowledge to be gained from within. In my earlier years, when I knew almost nothing and felt totally inadequate in spiritual knowledge, he said that he would ensure that I know 95% of what he did. I am grateful to him for all that I have learnt and realized, though I am not sure that I can ratify his arithmetic as yet. But then there is always tomorrow, and then there is also Rajpal ji.
जब गुरुजी ने मुझे अडॉप्ट किया तो गुरुजी ने मुझे कुछ डिसिप्लिन दिए थे कि ऐसा करना है और ऐसा नहीं करना। ये उन्होंने तब बोला था कि उन्होंने पूछा तू चाहता क्या है। मैं चुप उनके सामने बैठा रहा तो उन्होंने बोला कि स्वर्ग जाना है। मैं कैसे पता थे भगवान शिव से बहुत लगाव है, बहुत बहुत मोहब्बत है। तो कहने लगे फिर भगवान को पाना है, भगवान को मिलना है। मैं बता दूं कुछ अनुशासन है, उनका पालन करना। मैंने कहा जी कैसे, कोई तरीका? तब उन्होंने मुझे ये बोला था कि ये जो मनुष्य है, हर एक मनुष्य के अंदर भगवान रहता है। जैसे कि भगवान का नाम परमात्मा है और मनुष्य के अंदर एक आत्मा है, तो परम-आत्मा का मतलब होता है कि सुप्रीम आत्मा। तो भगवान को खुश करना है, तो ये जो छोटे छोटे भगवान हैं मनुष्य के रूप में, इनको खुश कर। जी वो किस तरह करूं? कहने लगे कि हर एक मनुष्य के पास कोई ना कोई समस्या होती है, कोई रोग होता है, कोई दुख होता है। तो इन दुख को दूर करता जा, उनकी समस्याओं को दूर करता जा, ये मनुष्य तेरे ऊपर खुश होंगे और अंदर से दुआ देंगे। जब इतनी क्वांटिटी के लोग खुश हो जाएंगे, इतनी आत्माएं खुश हो जाएंगी, तो फिर परमात्मा भी चला आएगा।
What Gurudev probably meant was that when you reach the level of Atmic consciousness, though you are aware of who and what you are in the physical world, you choose to identify with the divinity realized within. He reversed the normal perception of seva by glorifying it, by making us realize that we were serving not the person, but the Atma within. He made people see its immense value. The service by the self, of the self in another, made seva deeply aspirational. Though oversimplified, the idea appealed. Bakshiji, who I would call Khush Mizaz or Happy-Go-Lucky, is a senior disciple from Shimla. He brings to you a few echoes from the mountains and closes with an Urdu couplet.
गुरु जी ये कहा करते थे कि अगर आपने एक आदमी की भी प्रॉपरली सेवा कर ली, ठीक ढंग से सेवा कर ली, तो आप भी महान बन जाओगे। वो ये कहते थे कि ये 108, 1008 ये क्या होते हैं, जितनी बार आप जितने पुरुषों जितने मतलब आदमियों की आप सेवा करेंगे ना, वो उतने ही आप बन जाएंगे। आपने तो लाखों की सेवा कर दी होगी, तो आप उतने जब बन जाए, बोले 108 सद श्री श्री 108 के उन्होंने इतने मतलब सेवा की होती है लोगों की, ये बोलते थे वो। हजारों साल नरगिस अपनी बेनूरी पे रोती है, बड़ी मुश्किल से होता है चमन में दीदावर पैदा।
हजारों साल नरगिस अपनी बेनूरी पे रोती है, हजारों साल नरगिस अपनी बेनूरी पे रोती है, बड़ी मुश्किल से होता है चमन में दीदावर पैदा, चमन में दीदावर पैदा। Nargis is the name of a beautiful flower that resembles an eye but has no sight. Being Benur or without vision, it cries for thousands of years. It takes an eternity for a being or a Didavar to arrive who has the insight to see beyond and open others' eyes to reality. Gurudev made it his mission to collect his disciples who at the beginning were like Nargis the flower, unable to project their vision beyond the normal. Like a Didavar, he helped them gain deeper insights and look beyond themselves. Lectures on oneness and universal consciousness are dime a dozen and tools to impress. His simple examples and short advisories were meant to make Didavars out of us. His formula for change was once again seva. Surindarji and Guddanji from Kanpur were dedicated to the cause of their Guru and performed seva for decades.
और आध्यात्मिक रूप से जो सेवा बताई है वो तो करनी ही करनी है। जैसे बड़ा वीरवार पे करना, पब्लिक के दुख दर्द दूर करने की कोशिश करना, तो ये मेन पॉइंट गुरु जी का यही है कि चाहे जितनी अधिक से अधिक जिसके प्राणी मात्र के लिए कर सको वो कर।
ये तो इतनी बड़ी चीज तो इन्होंने बताया, जिससे यही गुरु जी की टीचिंग है कि लोगों से सेवा करो। नहीं कुछ कर सकते हो तो किसी से अच्छे बोल करके ही कर दो, तो उसको हाल चाल पूछ लोगे तो उसको खुशी हो जाएगी कहीं।
Influenced by Gurudev, Surindarji, his sisters and their mother made seva the central theme of their lives. Giridhar Lalwani adds a little bit of farm and animal culture to Gurudev's seva.
He used to feed cattle also, animals with his own hands. I saw him doing all these things at farmhouse. He used to do everything at farmhouse. Cows, buffaloes, monkeys, deers, and he used to love feeding the people who were really needy. And another thing which he used to love, that is, किसी की गरीब कन्यादान में पार्टिसिपेट करना, हम सबको पार्टिसिपेट कराना, दैट वाज द बेस्ट पार्ट अबाउट हिम. किसी गरीब की शादी करा देना without knowing anybody also. That mostly he used to do it in a secret way. That's what he wanted to always tell us. You should do seva with your own hands. You should make people do seva also, but you should do it yourself also. One more thing he said, even if you can't do seva physically, but you not only should do seva physically, but you should do seva with your tongue also. You should be always sweet. That is also a seva, he used to say. Yeah, and by being nice to everybody, by not getting harsh with anybody, or by not shouting on anybody. So actually he used to say कि बेटा सेवा में सब कुछ रखा हुआ है. Then he used to say अन्नदान is महादान. इसीलिए he used to say कि लंगर करना चाहिए, अन्नदान करना, जितना अन्नदान करो उतना अच्छा है. Then जल की सेवा, किसी को जल पिलाना, प्यासे की प्यास बुझाना, all these things he used to teach us. And in fact he used to tell me कि बेटा अपने वस्त्रदान करना भी बहुत जरूरी होता है. किसी के भी ढकना, किसी गरीब को ढकना वस्त्रों से, किसी को भूखे को अन्न खिलाना, किसी को प्यास बुझाना बहुत जरूरी होता है.
Let's turn the mic to another contemporary, Nitin Gadikar from Mumbai. His concepts have always been unique.
Somewhere deep inside, I knew that there was some connect. It's not just for, show that why should he? When Guruji doesn't need me, I am nobody, that he needs to put me there or do me any favor. So I did take it very seriously for 25 years. Whenever I did seva, I did with all my heart. I did means Guruji made me do. Maybe that was sitting on the stan ka seva. Then I have done a lot of other sevas, chappal ki seva, cleaning utensils ki seva, this, that in Gurgaon over the years. I feel that there is no difference between one seva and other.
This was a brilliant remark. I am witness to a strange phenomena. While many people sat on the gaddi and did seva of healing, there were others who worked in the kitchen, at the shoe stand, or served tea and snacks to the visitors at the sthan. Strangely but surely, the spiritual advancement of almost all these people was concurrent, no matter what the form of seva. Many of the ladies who did seva in the kitchen got ohms and other graphics in their hands and also attained spiritual powers. The sthan treated all at par. That was my takeaway. Whilst on one hand he glorified seva, on the other hand he unglorified personal significance. Over to Pradeep Sethi.
It was a very remarkable vision which I had one afternoon when I went into my room. Bada Guruvar was going on and I was tired and I slept for about an hour and I got a vision that I am sitting in this sthan and doing seva, and all the people who are coming, all the devotees who are coming, they are not touching my feet, I am touching them. It was a message that I am the servant.
Krishan Mohanji refuses to stay out of the humility frame. He adds,
तो दो लोगों ने आकर के हमारे पैर छू लिए. मैं खड़ा था, मैं तो बड़ा चौंका, ये क्या मामला है. गुरुजी अपने कमरे में थे, मेरे संग संगत थी दुर्गापुर की. तो जब मैं गुरुजी के पास गया तो मैंने अपनी ये चीज़ बताई कि गुरुजी हम बड़ा, कहने पुत्र वो सब मेरी मर्जी से हुआ है, तुझको सेवा करनी है, तू सेवा कर, उसी से सबका भला हो जाएगा. ये तो उनकी कंडीशन बिना मतलब शिष्य बने ये थी कि तुम अपने बारे में कभी भी कुछ मत बोलना. पर उन्होंने हरदम यही बोला कि पुत्र तू सेवा ठीक कर रहा है, मैंने तेरे मंत्र गिन लिए, तू मंत्र जो थे पाठ हो गया तेरा, तू सेवा करता रहे बस.
He communicated to us all that we should be grateful to those who allow us to serve them. It was after all they who gave us the opportunity to improve our self-reflections and our roots. It was they who helped us avoid the snakes and climb the ladders on our spiritual journey. He recommended humility versus vanity and asked us to dress, talk, and walk like the commoners we were. The message was to enhance the divinity internally and express humility externally. Suresh Kohli, who hails from the little hamlet of Sunet in Himachal Pradesh, shares his views on what seva meant to him.
I want to ask you a few questions which go beyond the physical aspect of what you have told me. It's very easy to say, did seva and this, that, and the other. But what is the real value that he was achieved by doing this seva?
The best reward of seva is the blessing of people.
Okay.
And there is no comparison, no value for a blessing. Blessing cannot be purchased. Well, that blessing cannot be forced upon. It is automatic. You see, voice from the heart of the inner recesses of the heart of a person. भगवान तेरा भला करे.
Okay.
भगवान तेरा ये जो दुआ है ना, इसके मुकाबले की blessing कोई नहीं है और ये सेवा का रिवार्ड है. Desirelessness. There was no desire for him inside. It was only seva, seva, seva.
For Gurudev, seva was not something he owned as his doing, choosing to view himself as a conduit instead. He always attributed his own seva to his Guru Buddhe Baba and said that he does, I don't. Taking a cue from the Mahaguru took us beyond the scope of karma, from I do to it happens. Not taking ownership helped us to expend our stored karma and reduce new additions. It was only when we gave up ownership of the positive that we could give up ownership of the negative as well, thus adding a ladder to the journey. The Durgapurian Krishan Mohanji returns to provide an amazing insight into the concept of seva. I am witness to his indulgence in the subject, and he serves as if there is no tomorrow. He spends 20% of his time on commercial work and the rest of his time in serving people who stroll in for help daily at the sthan.
जब आपको गुरुदेव ने सेवा बख्शी तो क्या आपको उन्होंने कोई ट्रेनिंग दी कि भाई ये सेवा कैसे करते हैं?
उनका एक शब्द हजारों मंत्रों से भी ऊपर था कि बेटे मेरा ध्यान करो और सेवा करो, तुम जिस पे हाथ रखोगे ठीक हो जाएगा और कुछ नहीं।
तो आपसे सुन के ये समझ आ रहा है कि जब आपको किसी को आध्यात्मिक शक्ति से ठीक करना होता है तो आप उस पे फोकस करते हैं और आप कॉन्सेंट्रेट करते हैं और आपके अंदर वो जो शक्ति है फिर जागृत हो जाती है, पेशेंट के अंदर ट्रांसफर हो जाती है। क्या आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं?
मेरे कहने का सत्य यही है कि मैं जब सेवा करता हूँ तो बड़े गुरुदेव का जब मैं ध्यान करता हूँ तो उनकी पावर डायरेक्टली या थ्रू मेरे उसके अंदर पास हो जाती है।
आपको गुरुदेव ने क्या सिखाया?
गुरुदेव ने हमको ये बताया कि हर एक के अंदर परमात्मा का वास है और मैं उस परमात्मा को गुरु के रूप में देखता हूँ। और गुरुदेव कहते थे कि तुमको इसके पाप पुण्य गलत चीजें से कुछ लेना देना नहीं, तुम्हें सिर्फ सेवा करनी। मैं गुरु जी के इस आदेश का पालन करता था और सेवा उस आदमी को भी नहीं पहचानता था और सिर्फ उसके अंदर गुरु जी का ही वास देखता था, उस परमात्मा को देखता था जो सत्य है।
When Gurudev had just started doing seva on the instructions of Buddhe Baba, two men came asking for his help. He intuitively sensed that they had committed some terrible deeds in the past, and he was unsure on whether he should or should not cure them. And then he heard a voice in his head which said, "You have to serve whoever comes to you without judgment or favor." And after that, he did just that and asked us all to do the same. Santokhsar is a place of significance in the life of Gurudev. It is here that the elusive Buddhe Baba instructed him to go back to the Grihastha ashram, for that is where his spiritual growth would happen. This ended his ascetic tourism and sent him back to family life. Gurudev told me once how in the ancient times the great Rishi Vishwamitra would wash off his sins by swimming across the Santokhsar lake in Amritsar, doing the Mahagayatri mantra, which was his own creation. That taught me a trick of life. I learned that if the great Vishwamitra could wash off his sins, then so can anyone else. It was not the swim, it was not the mantra, it was the concept of I am not the doer. I do not expect to wash away any sins, but I did learn the philosophy. Your deeds are your deeds, good or bad, only if you take ownership of them. To return to the subject, Praveen ji, who runs the sthan in Amritsar, shares.
ये संतोखसर लेक जहाँ पर गुरुदेव ने मेडिटेशन की थी,
हाँ जी,
तो उसके बारे में बताइए, वो कहाँ पे है, थोड़ा डिस्क्राइब करिए उस एरिया को।
वो ऐसे गोल्डन टेम्पल के थोड़ा सा पास ही है। गोल्डन टेम्पल से 5 मिनट का रास्ता है। अच्छा जी। और जहाँ पे गुरुदेव बैठे थे मेडिटेट करते? हाँ जी, हाँ जी। वो पहले तो उसमें संतोखसर गुरुद्वारा भी है और मंदिर भी है, शिवलिंग भी है, सारा इकट्ठा ही था। 94 में जब उग्रवाद टाइम था, तब उन्होंने गुरुद्वारा अलग कर दिया, मंदिर अलग कर दिया। वहाँ शिवालय बना हुआ है, बहुत पुराना शिवालय है। वहाँ पीपल का पेड़ था, वहाँ पीपल के पेड़ के नीचे गुरुजी ने तपस्या की थी। हाँ जी, यहाँ 40 दिन तपस्या की थी।
और कुछ बताया था उस जगह के बारे में?
जगह के बारे में ऐसा जी, मैंने 85 में अमृतसर स्थान की सेवा शुरू की थी
जी।
गुरुजी ने मुझे यही बोला था, वहाँ जहाँ मैंने सेवा की है, वहाँ पीपल के नीचे आप मिट्टी लेके अपने स्थान पे रख लो। आप अपने स्थान पे मिट्टी रख लो। आप जो सेवा करते जाओ, उससे आपको बहुत ज्यादा लोगों को फर्क पड़ेगा। उस हिसाब से 85 से सेवा कर रहा हूँ जी। लोग आ रहे हैं, उनके फर्क पड़ रहा है, कृपा हो रही गुरु जी की।
A sound bite from Ravi Trehanji follows.
गुरु जी आपको मैसेजेस भी ड्रीम्स में देते हैं कि आप नॉन ड्रीम स्टेट में देते हैं?
ये थोड़ा सा और बारीकी वाला सवाल तुमने पूछा है
जी।
कुछ तो इंटरेक्शन होता है उनके साथ, इफ यू कॉल देम मैसेजेस, आत्मिक रूप में जो हम बात करते हैं
जी।
दूसरा, आपके दिमाग में एज ए फ्लैश आती है
जी।
कोई किसी ने मुझे सवाल किया
जी।
मैं उस वक्त अपनी पूरी होश में नहीं होता, मान लो
जी,
और मैं उसको कुछ कह देता हूँ। अब मुझसे वो पूछे कि आपने ये कहा, तो आई डोंट रिमेम्बर कि मैंने ये कहा, बट उसका आंसर उसको मिल गया, उसका काम भी हो गया। वो मैसेजेस है, like a flash which comes and they radiate through me, if I can use the word.
Right.
I am made a media at that time. He is the doer who has given the message for somebody.
Right.
And the message has gone to that person in a state of awareness. मुझे नहीं पता क्या मैसेज था, क्या उसको पास ऑन हो गया, लेकिन उसका काम हो गया। ये ऐसे भी एक्सपीरियंसेस मेरे कई हुए हैं।
वाओ।
अब उसमें तो कोई रवि ट्रेन का बड़प्पन नहीं है ना।
राइट।
तो इसी कहते हैं गुरु कृपा। तो उन लोगों की इस स्थान के साथ जो जुड़े हुए हैं, उनकी आस्था है ज्यादा इस स्थान के साथ।
हाँ जी।
तो गुरु जी का कहना था कि जो जिस स्थान से लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, मैं उन लोगों का कल्याण अपने उन्हीं बच्चों के द्वारा करता हूँ या करवाता हूँ।
To do seva as yourself or to do seva as a representation of that great power was a subtlety most of us learned to understand. Suresh Sharma ji from Kotla in Himachal lets us in on his learning.
जो वहाँ पे जब सेवा करते हैं तो आपके यहाँ कई पेशेंट आते होंगे, 40-50 लोग आते होंगे हफ्ते में एक दफा या कहीं?
तो आते हैं, जिसको कहते हैं ना मैं कर दूं तो ठीक, वो तो ठीक नहीं होता। जिसको कहते हैं गुरु जी ठीक कर दो, वो ठीक हो जाता। इसके लिए आदमी गुरु जी को कहता है जो देख रहा है, जो तो ठीक होने वाला नहीं, इसकी हालत तो बहुत खराब है। तो हम गुरु जी को कैसे कहते हैं, गुरु जी कृपा करो ठीक कर दो। जब वो आ जाता बोलता है मैं उस दिन से ठीक हुआ है।
Often faith in the self is a version of faith in the guru or a higher power. When you attribute a practice to the higher power, you're telepathically inviting the indulgence of that higher power. I personally treat it as a constant and don't need to remind myself on a case-to-case basis. But we all have our own ways to practice something similar. Service before self may sound like a cliche, but it was his motto. He said umpteen times, "You do my work, and I will look after yours." I must have experienced this several times, as have most of my Guru Bhais. Gurudev cared a lot more for those who immersed themselves in the service of others rather than those who looked and sounded profound. Coming up next is a story that proves my point. Bittuji recalls how he earned his Guru's regards.
19 अप्रैल में गुरुजी का कैंप लगा कुल्लू मनाली। ये गुरुजी की कृपा है मुझ पे कि मेरे को गुरुजी अपने साथ ले जाते थे। तो मुझे एक रात बोले, बेटा अपने कपड़े तैयार कर ले, अपना 2-3 दिन कुल्लू मनाली चलना टूर थे। गुरुजी एक प्रार्थना करूँ आपसे? बोले बोल। क्योंकि मैं तो आपके कृपा से हर जगह, अच्छी से अच्छी जगह, पहाड़ों पे सब जगह आपने मुझे घुमा दिया, दुनिया का हर एक कोना घुमा दिया। ये पूरन जी रहते थे हमारे पास जी। उनका ये उनकी वाइफ कांता, बिट्टो, ये लोग कहीं नहीं गए। इनका भी दिल करता है आपके साथ टूर पे जाने का, तो आप इनको ले जाओ। इनका हफ्ते 10 दिन का प्रोग्राम था, वहाँ लेट हो गए 10-12 दिन। फिर गुरुजी भी इनके साथ आ गए। गुरुजी को यहाँ भी 4-5 दिन लग गए। इस तरह महीना पूरा बीत गया। तो आए गुरुजी, तो मुझे जिप्सी थी, बोले ये चाबी ले और जाके इसकी गाड़ी की सर्विस करा ले और अपने कपड़े ले आ, सुबह अपन निकलना है। गुरुजी मैं सर्विस तो करा लेता हूँ लेकिन मैं जाऊँगा नहीं आपसे। कहते क्या बात, कोई काम है? क्या पैसे नहीं है? मैं कहा आप साथ हो तो पैसे की कमी क्या है, मेरे को क्या प्रॉब्लम है। फिर क्या है, सर्विस तो करा के आया। मैं गाड़ी सर्विस करा के आया और गाड़ी चाबी अराउंड 6:30-7:30 शाम का हुआ। मैं छोटे कमरे में बैठा था दीवान के ऊपर, तो गुरुजी निकल रहे थे वहाँ से। बोले बेटा जी कपड़े ले आया? नहीं मैं नहीं लाया। क्यों, तेन क्या सी ना? मैं कहा मैंने भी तो आपको बोला था मैं नहीं जा रहा आपके साथ। तेन लाहौल स्पीति घुमा के लाऊंगा। थोड़ा एंग्री हो गए कि मैं इसको बोल रहा हूँ चलो, ये कह रहा है मैं नहीं जाना आपके साथ। तो वो सुबह गुरुजी उठे 4 बजे, निकल रहे थे। मैंने माथा टेका, उन्होंने आशीर्वाद दिया, बस सिर्फ आंखों से आंखें मिली, कोई मुंह से बात नहीं हुई, कुछ नहीं हुआ। वो निकल के मैं इसलिए नहीं गया क्योंकि 25-26 दिन के बाद गुरु पूजा थी, ड्यूटी थी। हम लोगों के कमरे घर लिया करते थे। मतलब लोगों से आपसे रिक्वेस्ट की भैया आपने 2 कमरे दे दो, आपसे रिक्वेस्ट की 4 कमरे दे दो। तो वहाँ पर जो पब्लिक आती थी उनको एडजस्ट करते थे, टेंट लगवाना, पुलिस से तब हम परमिशन लिया करते थे। ये सब छोटे मोटे काम थे और ये सब गुरुजी आए। गुरुजी चल आए, कोई बात नहीं हुई हमारी, माथा टेका ना, उन्होंने पूछा क्या है क्या नहीं। लेकिन एक उनकी हम पे एक भरोसा था, एक विश्वास जैसे कह सकते हैं कि ये बच्चे हैं, मतलब ये काम सब खत्म हो गया, फंक्शन खत्म हो गया, सब कुछ। सब लोग जो बाहर से आए थे चले गए। दैट वाज मंडे मॉर्निंग। गुरुजी तैयार होकर अपने पलंग पे बैठे हुए कमरे में। मैं गुरुजी के लिए लस्सी लेने गया। गुरुजी ने लस्सी ली मेरे हाथ से, ट्रे में थी, उठा के पीछे रख दी और वो खड़े हो गए। क्या बताऊँ आपको, उन्होंने मुझे जोर से हक कर लिया, इतनी जोर से हक किया कि कम से कम 100 टाइम्स उन्होंने मेरा माथा चूमा और मुझे बोला, बिट्टू तू एक बार मुझे बोल के देखियो कि दुनिया की कौन सी जगह पे तुझे जाना है और तुझे मैं नहीं घुमा के लाऊं। कहते मुझे मालूम था कि तू गुरु पूजा की वजह से नहीं जा रहा, लेकिन मैं तुझे उकसा रहा था। तो बेटा गुरु के दरबार में आने वाले असली हरि वो हैं, वो आपके गुरु के दरबार में आए हैं। अगर वो खुश जाएंगे तो आपका गुरु प्रसन्न है, वो खुश होने चाहिए। असली वो हैं तो हम हैं। मतलब नारायण सेवा करनी है तो उनकी करो जो यहाँ आपके गुरु के दर पे आ रहे हैं। असली नारायण सेवा वो है।
I visited Dr. Shankar Narayan to ask him a few questions.
What was the kind of percentage of people who got either fully cured or partially cured in, say, a couple of sittings, in your experience?
There are people who really good, very good results also. Some I feel also they might not have got also, but quite a few people got it. But what I learned about it, now I tell it, my interpretation now. I used to tell people also. The person who comes to the place, even if he did not get the result, he used to get the confidence to go with the problem. Where I am myself an example, and I always tell the people in Bangalore also, now that you have come, even if the problem is not solved, you are going to live with the problem boldly and without any fear. That is one thing that has happened to everybody. This also Guruji used to tell me this thing, बेटा लोग आते हैं, सबका भी होता है, यहाँ जो भी आते हैं कोई भी खाली नहीं गया.
My spiritual journey started at around the same time as Suresh Prabhu's. Gurudev said on many occasions that Suresh would become a significant public figure and people would listen to him across the globe. Since Suresh did not even possess a passport at that time, he and I were left wondering how. A decade or so later, we were wondering no more. Suresh is amused by his own rise in political stature. For him, it was and will be a whodunit.
So Guruji, of way of getting seva done from you, it could be various forms. In Konkan, where Guruji got me elected 4 times to Lok Sabha, we are doing a lot of social work. Now all this is impacting positively the lives of people. They may not know it, that I am directly responsible, nor I am trying to publicize it. But this is a seva, which is important. And in fact, Guruji always used to say that you should not be seen to be doing a seva on your own. That's why he used to be very inconspicuous. Many times I've seen Guruji saying, I am not the one, he's the one who is Guruji. Will say
pointing to somebody else.
Yeah, somebody else says he's Guruji. I mean, I don't know any other spiritual person who could be not even want to take credit for something he has done. Today in politics, where we take credit for something which you are not done. But here is a person who is not even willing to take credit for what he has directly been responsible for.
When you are working in the government, it's always a very complicated issue of, marrying spirituality with politics. Have you had a lot of difficulty in doing that?
You're absolutely correct. Basically, 2-3 elements to being in the government and particularly as a cabinet minister is that there's too much of power, huge power. Finally, when you sign on some paper, it's the government of India of signing it, because there is no authority. Of course, the final order of a cabinet minister is the final order of that ministry. So you have to be very careful about use of that power. Because power is like fire. You can cook the food or you can burn the houses. So we had to be conscious. And thanks to Guruji, power never went into my head. I hope not. I never abused power. I never troubled anybody. In fact, to some extent, I would give some examples. Some of the time, the final authority for the termination of service of an employee for some fraudulent act or something lies with the minister. Not always, sometimes, depending upon the quantum of punishment to be awarded. So every time such issues come to me, I used to call that person and understand from him. There is one person whose pension was to be stopped as per the recommendation of my officers. I called that person to understand what exactly he had done. So he was one of the very junior officers and he couldn't have prevented it, nor he could have been party to it. So I said, no, it is not right that we are stopping a pension of a person for an offence which is not committed really. He may be indirectly responsible because the chain. The government is a chain of hierarchy. So many people working. So you are part of a chain anyway. You could be held to be responsible vicariously. But I said, no, this is not right. So I kept this Guruji's thinking in mind. It's seva is something which you can do. Another thing is policy that you make can impact positively not just few people but millions of people. One example is, again thanks to Guruji's blessing, there's the Electricity Act which we brought to the Parliament. When we brought it, there was only less than 80,000 megawatts of installed capacity. It is today 400,000 megawatts, 4 lakh megawatts, 5 times more. Thanks to only one act. So that act, people may not know that I am getting electricity today more than before because of that law. But this is the power of policy. And only because I was sitting in that position, I could be instrumental to doing it, though not really responsible for doing it. But I could think about it. So Guruji, of way of getting seva done from you, it could be various forms.
Suresh's story has always been a reminder to him that he is not the doer. And that realization has kept him spiritually fit and humble. He tries to justify his destiny by using his office to be of help to as many as he can. The combined sentiments of gratitude and self-growth have shaped his political nature. He has been blessed with a wife, Uma, who is a huge support in his philanthropic efforts. Next, let's head to Toronto for a chat with Lal Saab.
Guru used to tell us, बेटा इनसे जब ये खड़े होते हैं, we do use गुरु जी वो 7 घंटे, 10 घंटे, 15 घंटे बाहर खड़े रहते हैं. They are big queues. There used to be 3.5 kilometer long queues, never ending queues. बेटा मैं इनकी तपस्या करवाता हूँ. तपस्या होगी, where I can reward them. Without tapasya, nothing happens. Now that I do the same thing in Toronto, people have to wait about 2.5 hours. I don't drink tea. I don't take a coffee break. My coffee break gonna cost everybody 15 minutes. They don't come to see me. They come because they have a problem. And the problem who has a problem came to get his problem solved. Nobody calls me for no reason. The reason they call me is because they needed Guruji.
The secret of spiritual seva is not as elementary as curing symptoms of a disease of a particular organ. It goes much deeper, beyond internal organs to internal existence. It is the collaboration between the two spirits of both the healer and the healed. The process is the editing of the trends of faith. Rajpalji explains nicely and simply what Gurudev explained to him.
जब लोग हमारे पास आते हैं, बोलते हैं जी ये बीमारी है, जा नहीं रही, बड़े इलाज कराए, गुरुजी बड़ी दवाइयां खाई. मैं क्या करता हूँ, मैं उनके भाग्य को रीराइट करता हूँ. कट, बीमारी खत्म, क्योंकि मैं गुरु हूँ. मैंने कहा गुरुजी भगवान आपसे नाराज नहीं होता. भगवान के लिखे को आप कट कर देते हो, मिटा देते हो और रीराइट कर देते हो. गुरुजी नाराज नहीं होगा वो आपसे? कहने लगे वो बड़ा खुश होता है. आपको जी उसके काम को आप गलत करते हो तो नाराज होना चाहिए ना. क्योंकि नहीं पुत्र, वो बड़ा आनंद लेता है जब मैं उसका बुखार दूर करता हूँ, तब उसकी बीमारी खत्म करता हूँ. गुरुजी किसकी बात कर रहा हूँ? भगवान है, वही तो होता है उस मनुष्य के अंदर. मैं तो भगवान को खुश करता हूँ, मैं तो भगवान की बीमारी दूर करता हूँ. और गुरु की औपाधि, गुरु की ये स्टेज मुझे उसी को दी है और साथ में एक अथॉरिटी भी दी है. मैं अपनी अथॉरिटी का प्रयोग करता हूँ. उसको मैं खुद चेक कर सकता हूँ, भगवान भी नहीं चेक कर सकता, क्योंकि मैं गुरु हूँ. मैं रीराइट कर देता हूँ. अगर मैं रीराइट ना करूँ तो लोग फिर आके बीमारी वापस जाएंगे.
Very often his concepts were difficult to understand at face value. Bhagwan or divinity or whatever the Westerners called God is whose troubles I cure, and that pleases him. He has given me the status of a guru and the authority to cure him. Though these words sound absolutely uncanny, if you dive deep, you will realize that the healer, the healed, and the authority for the power of healing are all the same. When the monkey at the farm complained of loneliness, he found him a mate. When a calf urinated near him and drops fell on him, he said, after all, she is also like one of our kids, and so there is no issue. When spirits came to him for help, he did as he would for any human being. So, even though he never spoke about oneness or any scriptural jargon, he lived it. All religions were his. All life forms were his. All gods and goddesses were also his. Reaffirming the oneness of existence, Surindarji from Chicago was deputed to Gurudev's fold by none other than Guru Gobind Singh, one of Gurudev's spiritual associates. An uncanny story coming up.
We have mostly actually to my place a lot of Gujaratis, some Punjabis, and some Americans also come here. And some Muslims come too from Pakistan. She asked me, said, Guruji, can you pray
I do my namaz here? I said, sure, of course. Because one time Guruji really showed me. It was before Shivratri, about 4 years ago. He woke me up and I saw him doing namaz in front of my kitchen.
In the dream?
No, you can say dream, but when I got up, I saw my body laying on my bed. I walked here in my kitchen and Guruji was doing the namaz. I said, Guruji, आपने तो नमाज कर ली. हाँ बोलते हैं बेटा करोड़ों लोग ऐसे ही मेरी पूजा करते हैं. I said, Guruji, but you did towards north and I think Muslims do south. Then उन्होंने कहा बेटा मैं तो सभी जगह हूँ, जहाँ मर्जी कर लो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है. And then after my, that was an amazing thing. The best dream I ever had, that I saw in front of my eyes Guruji doing the namaz.
Have you ever, at the 10th Guru that you used to see before you met Gurudev?
It was Guru Govind Singh.
When you saw him in your dream, what was it like? I mean, was he sitting on a horse?
But the last time when I saw him that dream, and he was there, he was like a Shivji. He had a lion's coat, and he had no turban on him, and he had one side of the kamandal over there, and he had a Rudraksh mala in his hand, not in his neck. And that's how I seen him last time. And Guruji even told me one day about my dream. He said, Beta, Guru Govind Singh was Shivji ka roop theko. That's what he exactly told me.
Did he look like he looked in the picture?
No, not at all. His kesh was just tied up. He had no turban. And he has a tiger skin, just like Shivji. And he was sitting cross-legged. And to be very honest, he was facing west.
And did he was he wearing just a bare body or what was it?
It was bare body, yes. He was only, he was wearing it, putting on like just like Shivji, exactly.
For Gurudev, different religions were like the fingers of the same hand. The hand of realization. The hand that pushed you up and held you back from going south. Gurudev identified with and was associated with all the saints who became the essence of these isms. Today we do feel connected to the super server called param-aatma. We may not be perfect at the walk, but we are way past the talk. Join us in this philosophy and ensure an enriched afterlife. To sum up in the words of Sri Ravi Trehan,
नजर आए जलवे खुदा के हर शख्स में मुझे, नजर आए जलवे खुदा के हर शख्स में मुझे, और हर शख्स नजर आए मुझे खुदा की तरह, हर शख्स नजर आए मुझे खुदा की तरह. While rendering selfless service to people, I may perceive God in every human being that I come across. And in every human being, I should see the reflection of God Himself